Hello everyone, good afternoon. It's 3 o'clock here in Vancouver, probably different times for all of you. I hope you are doing well. Hello Batuhan. I was looking in the chat and I see a lot of familiar names. That's awesome. Hi Jacqueline, nice to see you. And some new names as well, so welcome to everyone. Sergi, hi from Ukraine. It's 1 a.m. Wow. I bet you want to sleep, but I hope you stay up. Wajid, hello. Hi, Wajid. I do remember you from my classes. I believe it's the same one. Really nice comment you made. Thank you. I hope you're doing well. And Carlos, Lolly, hello. Midnight in France. Yes. Wow. Ahmed, hi. Mohammed, hello. Hi, Pillar. Awesome. Well, I hope you guys are doing great. I sound ill. Well, I am not ill, but maybe a busy weekend? I don't know. I'm good. I'm good, though. I'm good. I hope you're all doing well. So, if you're curious what we're doing today, we are talking about the past perfect, okay? So last week, we did a lot of talk about past simple, past continuous, and today we are going to add past perfect into that mix. Yes, Batuhan. I think sometimes my voice changes. I don't know if I get a lot of sleep or a little sleep. I don't know, but I'm good. Thank you for asking. Hello, Avinash. Hello. I don't have a contact number to give you, sorry. But if you are new to the chat, welcome. Feel free to participate. And hello, Jose. Ask any questions you might have. And give a lot of examples if you can. Participate that way. It's great to see a lot of your examples. Thank you, Ahmed. I'm going to change the screen and go to the main display. Good. So yes, if you have questions, put them in the chat. I will try my best to answer all of them. If I do miss your question, please ask me again because the chat goes really quickly. So I will try to keep up. But yes, I have these lessons, Kelvin, every Tuesday for 1 hour, 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. Vancouver time. Yeah. So every Tuesday. So, good. I'm glad you're grateful. I'm just following the chat, reading it, getting distracted. But we're going to begin our lesson, okay? So as you can see, hopefully it's big enough with the screen. But we are talking about the past perfect simple tense today, okay? And that is had and a past participle, okay? So past perfect simple, it is not to do with present perfect simple, okay? Because it's about, it's not about, indefinite past. It's actually about sequence of events. So this lesson will really help you to clarify that if you're confused about it, okay? So let's start. Neville from Haiti, very cool. You're new, welcome. I'm doing great. You guys are all so nice and I'm excited to be here with you. So let's talk about the first sentence. As we can see, today we're always focusing about the past, all right? So let's see here. The day after the storm, we drove through Stanley Park. We saw that the wind had destroyed many of the trees, okay? So, as you can see, had destroyed is our only verb in the past perfect, okay? And it's very important that we use the past perfect for the action that finished before another action in the past. Yes, Vladimir, I know that's true, but this is what works for my schedule, so I'm sorry if it's not a good time for you, but you can always re-watch them after when they're not live if you want. I wish I could accommodate everybody, but okay. So let's go over the form and we will get into more detail with the use. Okay, so form of past perfect. We need to use had, always had, and a past participle. Okay, if it is negative, we should use not in the middle. Okay, had, not, past participle. Often speakers contract it. Hadn't. My roommate hadn't done the dishes when I got home. Okay. If it's a question form, we need to use inversion. Had, subject, past participle. Okay. Had your roommate done the dishes when you got home? Okay. So we'll go for a few examples. Okay. And just so you know, past perfect, the only time you need to use it is if you have more than one finished action in the past that you are talking to, okay? And the reason to use past perfect is to be clear about the order of which the events happened, okay? If you're going to speak in order, what happens first, second, third, fourth, there is no need to use past perfect. We only use it if we want to be clear that one thing happened before another thing in the past that we're talking about, okay? So, for example, I had eaten, okay? So, I wasn't hungry at lunch, past simple. I was not hungry at lunch. Why? Because I had already eaten, okay? So if I say that, the listener, they will understand that first, I ate. Second, I was not hungry for lunch, okay? As you can see, negative form, I hadn't eaten, and question form, had I eaten, okay? Let's continue. I won't read through all of those. And let me check in with the chat. What's going on? So yes, Nawar, an event happened before another event in the past. It's good. Thank you, Hixam. I'm glad it's a good time. So Batuhan, had you eaten your sandwich? Yes, so if you're asking this question, context has to do a lot with this as well. Like if one person is, you know, saying, oh, yesterday I was so hungry at lunch, I was feeling sick, I wasn't doing very well, maybe the second speaker might ask, oh, had you eaten your sandwich? You know, because they want to know if maybe the person was simply hungry or if they hadn't eaten, that kind of thing, okay? Same thing, Ahmed, had you cleaned your teeth? So you need ed for the past participle of clean. So you might ask your friend, you know, had you cleaned your teeth before you left the house? Or something like that. Okay, good. Okay, so everyone's doing well so far. Zuhair has an example. I had finished my homework before I went to the theater. Good, perfect. Okay, so we're going to move into the use. The form is quite simple. Had, past participle. Had not, past participle. Had, subject, past participle for a question, okay? But the use is a little trickier. Tatiana, how to pronounce itid? It is a challenge. That's a very big challenge, even for native speakers. And generally, we would probably say the word and not contract. It had. And in this case, it could be it would, right? So, but for pronunciation, itid. You kind of just itid. Hope that helps. Okay, use past perfect. As we know, You are talking about multiple finished actions in the past, okay? And past perfect action happens first, okay? So we often start with a past simple action. Here, I got up at 7 a.m. this morning. One action, past simple. If you want to talk about something that happened before this time, this is where past perfect needs to come in, because it's much clearer for the listener if you use past perfect, because they understand, okay, the next thing that they say actually happened first. Okay? So let's take a look. What could we add? The storm had already finished. Okay? And notice the use of adverbs. Very common to use adverbs with this tense. Okay? So we can put both of these sentences together, and the order, it doesn't matter. Okay? So you could say, I got up at 7 a.m. this morning and the storm had already finished. Okay? Usually we say when. You know, when I got up at 7 a.m., the storm had already finished. Or the storm had already finished when I got up at 7 a.m. this morning. Okay? So you can combine them. Had I known you were online last week, I wouldn't have missed the lesson. Nawar, there you go. Great sentence. Yeah. When, Batuhan, yes. When, it's much it's a little bit better to add when. It sounds like it flows better. Gertrudis, you have an example. I had woke up. So woke up, there's actually an issue with woke up because this is not the past participle. Okay, so you should say I had woken. Good, perfect. It's an irregular. I had woken up when the earthquake began this morning. Don't forget the article the before earthquake. Okay. Hi Wafa Wafa, welcome. Yes, we can use before, and you know, that's a good point, Tatiana, thank you. If you are very clear on the sequence of events, past perfect is optional, okay? So if I say, you know, before I got up this morning, the storm finished, it's pretty obvious, but it's a good idea to get comfortable with this tense. So I would suggest just using it anyways, okay? So before I got up at 7 a.m. this morning, the storm had already finished. That's good. Good, comma rule is coming. So I'm going to show you my document now. So remember we have this document and I will share it with you guys at the end. You are going to give me lots of examples, I hope. So let's take a look. As we know, past perfect is used to talk about finished actions that happened before other finished actions in the past. Okay. Batuan, I had died if I wouldn't seen the car. You need to say actually, I would have died if I didn't see the car. Okay, you're going into the conditionals there, the mixed conditionals. Okay. Sergey, can we say, when I got up, the storm had already finished. Exactly, yeah. You don't need to add the time clause, 7:30. Okay, a really good way to understand the past perfect is with timelines, okay? So, everyone please look at this timeline and take a look at the times here. So, 4:30 p.m., I did my homework. 5 p.m., my mom started making dinner. 5:30 p.m., we sat down to eat. Okay? So I'm going to show you, Rami, don't worry, it's not one of the most common tenses, so that's good, but definitely a good thing to get comfortable with it. with this timeline, we can make a sentence with the past perfect, okay? So we need to go to the first action, and that is the action that will take the past perfect, okay? This is what happened first, so this is what takes past perfect, okay? So let's take a look. I had already done my homework when my mom started making dinner and we sat down to eat, okay? Or, when my mom started, you know what, sorry, let me change. Started, it's much better to use finished, okay? It makes a little more sense. I had already done my homework when my mom finished making dinner and we sat down to eat. You can also do a different order, okay? And that's where the comma rule comes in. It's okay, Musfik, this is an intermediate level, okay? Intermediate level, yeah. When my mom started, finished making dinner and we sat down to eat, these actions happened, 1, 2, okay, in order. If I want to rewind into the past, I had already done my homework, okay? So we know that the homework first, finished. Second, you finish making dinner. Third, you sit down to eat, okay? Batuhan, that's the main verb. Finish. Making is the gerund, okay? Finish is what I like to call verb 1. Making is the gerund. Okay. So, as you can see, both sentences are totally fine to use, but if you start your sentence with the dependent clause, we call it, okay, then you do need to use the comma, okay? If you're starting the sentence with the dependent clause, the past simple clause, usually, you need to use a comma. Okay. So, Nayarana, can we use I have already done my homework? No, you can't use present perfect because that is not the tense that we're using. You need to use past perfect. I had already done my homework, okay? In the finished past. Hi, Maria, welcome. Yeah. And Batuhan, you need to use a gerund after the verb finish here, okay? Okay. Jory, good sentence. I had gone before they came. Good. Sergi has an example. When I came to work, my boss had already made a cup of coffee for me. Okay? So let me put your example down here. It's a good example, and I have some corrections for you. So, when I came to work, okay, preposition to work, and this is good. This is a dependent clause. When I came to work, it's dependent because it can't stand alone. This by itself, not a good sentence, right? Because it doesn't have a complete idea. So when we start with that, we need to use the comma. When I came to work, my boss, and then had before the adverb. Had already, okay, and then your past participle, made a cup of coffee, and the next for me preposition, okay, and that's a great sentence. Good, good. Adnan, hello from Indonesia. Welcome. Zuhair, she had given me the book before she went to the hospital. Great sentence. Excellent. Why didn't you put the first two actions in the past perfect and the third one in the past simple? Rami, the answer to your question is because the second and third are at the same time, okay? And the first one is the only one that really requires the past perfect, okay? Okay, let me go back up. I have another timeline to show you guys an example. Let's see. Avinash 2 has many different uses. It is, in this case, a preposition, and it's a bit tricky to go over everything, but basically for direction, we often use the preposition to and then the noun. To work, to school, to the gym, to the library, that kind of thing, okay? All right, so let's see here. This is another timeline. So 1, my husband finished watching the NBA finals. 2, I got home from work at 10 p.m. Okay, so let's look at the sentence. When I got home from work, comma, my husband had finished watching the NBA finals. Okay, here, finished is your verb 1, and watching is a gerund. We're going to get into gerunds and infinitives in a later stream in a few weeks from now. The order can be the opposite. My husband had finished watching the NBA finals when I got home from work. Okay? And when you use your dependent clause second, there is no need to use a comma. Okay? So let me see in the chat. So Maria, if you say, when I did my project, the boss had praised me, that means that the praise came before you did the project. So in your sentence, it might be better to use past simple, okay? When I did my project, my boss praised me. That would mean first you do the project, second you receive praise. Adnan, wow, I hope you do well on your exam. Good luck. Over the course of the class, our teacher had yelled at us many times. Batuhan, good job, perfect sentence. Yeah. Wajid, when I got home from work, my husband had already finished the NBA finals. That's good, yes. And did you watch, you guys, the Raptors winning the NBA finals? I was very into it. I watched the games very closely, and I was very excited when they won. My home is close to Toronto, so I was very happy for the Raptors. Okay, so let me see. Gertrudis, when I took a shower, my daughter had already slept. This is good, a good thing to write down, because there's a common mistake that many second language speakers make, and it's about going to sleep. So let me write it down. When I got home from work, my daughter had already gone to sleep. Okay? Because that would mean she was sleeping when you got home. Oh, you said when I took a shower. Oh, that's okay. If you say what you said, when I took a shower, my daughter had already slept, that would mean that when you got out of the shower, she would be awake and her sleep would be over, right? So I think you mean gone to sleep. So yeah, Vladimir, to answer the question, we are talking about completed actions, but they're a little bit different. Like right now, past perfect, it is a completed action, okay? And the importance of the tense is to be clear about what happened first, okay? That's the important part of the tense. When I hear somebody, a friend of mine, a family member, when I hear them saying had, past participle, I immediately understand that the action they are talking about happened before the other actions that they're talking about. and if they don't use had and a past participle, I understand that the actions they are telling me happened one after the other, okay? So it's really important for clarity of time of when things happened. Zuhair, when she, okay, so again, Zuhair, you should use the same idea. When she went to sleep, okay? When she went to sleep, she had left the door open. That's too bad. Yeah, the NBA, the National Basketball Association. Sorry, I just became a fan this past few weeks with the Raptors doing so well. For the first time ever, I became a basketball fan. So I really enjoyed it. Let's see some more examples. Jory says, my mom had finished cooking. Okay, because finished is your past participle. Cooking is a gerund, so it's used like a noun. My mom had finished cooking lunch when I came back from school. Good. So that means lunch would be on the table, ready to eat when you got back from school. Neville, when my classmates knocked on the door, I had already done, don't forget past participle, I had already done my homework. Batuhan, good correction for Jory. That's great, yeah. Nayarana, when I went to college, I'll put your example here. When I went to okay, so we should say when I went to my college or the college to meet the principal. Oops. Comma. So we don't need but. We would just say he had already, or we don't need already, he had gone to a meeting. Good. Tatiana, when I came back to the classroom, the students had already read the text. Good job. Maria, when I got to work, my friend had called me. Okay, so again, Maria, I mean, it's hard for me because I'm not with you, but I think if you mean you got to work and then your friend called you, but if I can change your sentence a little bit, we could say, when I got to work, comma, my friend had, sounds better, maybe had tried calling me several times. Okay, so then it's a little clearer that this action happened first. Yeah. But your sentence is still good. It is still good. It's not wrong at all. Okay. When I got to work, my friend had called me. Yeah, it's still a good sentence. Yes. Noir, when I arrived at the train station this morning, the train had gone. Yes, good. So Avinash, with the sleeping examples, it's a bit confusing, but we don't want to say when I took a shower, my daughter had slept. This means that she is then awake and her sleeping is over. She's no longer sleeping. Okay. For example, when I took a shower, my daughter had slept for 3 hours or something like that. That would mean she's no longer sleeping. But if you say, when I took a shower, my daughter had gone to sleep, that means she went to sleep, she's still sleeping, and you took your shower after that. Okay? Let me see. I'm just catching up with the chat. Okay, Adnan, after he had finished school, he married his girlfriend. Yes, in this case, because you're using after, you're being very clear that that happened first. it is optional. You could just say, after he finished school, he married his girlfriend, okay? So if you're being super clear of the order of events by giving more context, by saying things like after, then it's optional to use the past perfect, okay? So Remy, you can use the all of those. Let me give you some examples. Just different time clauses, okay? So another example using when. Well, not when, after. Actually, trying to think of an example with after, and I don't think that's something we really use, but let me try. I had visited France after. No. We can't use after because this is what happens first, right? We can use before. I had visited France before I went there in 2010, for example. Yeah. Good. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so Vladimir, when I learned English to a pretty decent level, comma, all ships to Australia had already flown. So because it's a ship, it's a boat, we shouldn't use flown, but we can use left or had already set sail, we say with boats. All of the ships to Australia had already set sail. Gertrudis, the list of credits of the movie had finished when he left the cinema. Yeah, but it's easier to say the movie credits, okay? The movie credits had finished when he left the cinema. My friend had called me when I was in the class. My friend had called me when I got to the class, okay? When I finished watching a movie, my mom had already cooked dinner. Good. So you guys you're doing really well with this. Good job. Rain, when I came to the house, my kids had taken a shower and gone to sleep. So I can do whatever I want now. Awesome. That's probably a mother's dream, right? Or a father's dream. Peace and quiet. Okay, so that's good. I wanted to make a note with you guys that common adverbs, we've talked about already, using already happens a lot. And look at the example we have there. Okay, this is where all the examples are, but I'm going to add just. Okay, just is a common adverb in this tense to mean that something happened just before the other action. Okay, so for example, the taxi had just driven away when I ran outside. Okay, so that means such a small difference of time. The taxi had just driven away when I ran outside. Okay, I had just finished my test when the time ran out. Okay, so not a big difference. Okay, and ever is common for experiences, right? So I can quickly go back to Smrt and let's go over some Smrt examples because they are great examples. Past perfect is commonly used to describe experience. Now this is a similarity to present perfect, talking about what we have or have not done, okay? But this is about before another time in the past, okay? So because of this, common to use never or in question form ever and before to say what you have had done before, okay? Yes, Sierra, no, just is a versatile adverb. It's used with many different tenses. Yeah. Gertrudis, I had just eaten when Julia's stream started. Good. Yeah. All right. Don't talk about food. I'm getting hungry. Just kidding. Okay, look at this example. When I came to Canada, I had never been to a foreign country. Okay, so never, very common to talk about lack of experiences. Experiences you had not had before. Okay, so this is number 1, and this is number 2. Look at the next example. I was very nervous. Number 2, why? Because I had never flown before. That's before being nervous. Before being nervous. And question form. As you can see, ever is when you're asking somebody about their experiences. Let's see. Had you ever seen that actress in a movie before tonight? Okay, so that's kind of mixing with the present. Before last night be better. And that's the last thing, but I have a question. Sorry, Gertie, I forgot. Yes, I can definitely, that's much easier, Gertie. Yes, thank you. Thank you for reminding me. I like that nickname. So, Nayarena, for is for reason, but it's very formal. It's very outdated, in my opinion. Maybe common in novels or writing, that kind of thing. But in speaking, we don't usually use it. It sounds very formal. For example, the man was upset, comma, for his favorite team had lost the championship. Okay, so it's a very formal, way to say that. More commonly, we would use because. The man was very upset because his favorite team had lost the championship. Okay, and to has different uses. It's for the infinitive, to and base verb, and it's also a preposition. Okay. All right, so let's put a few more examples specifically with never. Okay. Can you guys think of your own lives and your own past experiences and tell me something that you had never done before another action in the past? Kelvin, yes, there's a difference. You can describe yourself as being on time. I am on time. But when we say in time, it's a very similar, but we usually add what we are in time for. For example, oh, great, we are in time for the movie. But you can also say on time for the movie. They are similar, slight difference. In time, we usually include what we are in time for. Valerie, good. I had never traveled abroad. And then you need to add, remember, with the past perfect, you need to add more finished actions. If you're saying that by itself, then we would use present perfect. I have never traveled abroad. Okay, but we need to have two things. So Tatiana, I had never traveled abroad before my trip overseas. Oops. Yeah, and you might even want to add a little more past, before my trip overseas last month, you know, or last year, or last September, something like that. Let me give you another example. For my experiences, I had never gone snorkeling before. I had never gone snorkeling before my experience. Ooh, I can't type. Before my experience in Mexico 3 years ago. Okay. So Zuhair, they came to Canada because they had never felt safe over there. Yeah, that's good. That's good. We should, but we'd only need. They came to Canada because they had never felt safe. Where? Over there or where they were? Okay, a little clearer. And now, what about ever? I'm seeing some more examples that I will read. Avinash, I had never done when I was a child. We need to, you had never done what? You should add another word for that, complete the action. What had you never done when you were a child? Gertie, I had never gone abroad before I went to Barcelona in 1982. Nice. I've heard great things of Barcelona. He had never seen such a beautiful place before he went to India. Amazing. Good sentence. So, Batu Han, hadn't, if you're using hadn't negative, then your adverb will be ever. I hadn't ever lied to my mom until she didn't tell me the truth. Yeah. But it's maybe better to just say I had never. When I studied at school, I had never overslept. So, Sergi, it might be better to say before I started studying at this school, I had never overslept. Good. Nawar, nice. Well, I hope Smart English is helping you with your English. I had never read the book before he told me the story. Good, Jacqueline. Great. I had never studied good grammar in my school days, so Nayarana, you need more than one action. So, for example, I had never studied good grammar until I changed schools or something like that. Good. Okay, everyone. I think we have a lot of great examples on our document. That's great. I want to just talk about a few more things. Another use, so Farah, that's good sentence, but remember you do need to add another action for past perfect to be necessary. For example, I had never seen this live video before I came to Smart English, or something like that. Good. Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about is using past perfect to give reasons for other past actions. Okay? So this is a really common thing as well, and we'll do some examples. So, example situation, if someone asks you, this is, remember, a question about the past. So if you're speaking to your friend and you are talking about last weekend, maybe your friend is curious, why didn't you go to the cinema with your friend last Saturday? Okay? You can give her a reason. You can give many different reasons, but if you want to give a reason before that, past perfect. I didn't go because I had already seen the movie she was going to. Okay, so this gives a good reason. Next, past question, why did your mom yell at you? Okay, She yelled at me because I had forgotten to take out the garbage. Okay? So this happens first, and this happens second. Now, let's see. Question, and you guys can answer these questions. Okay? So, question is, why didn't you visit Paris when you went to France? Imagine, just use your imagination. I'm asking you this question. Can you please give me reasons in the past perfect? And I will wait for your answers. Bet your hand because, oops, I don't want bold. Because I had gone, and in this case, it's optional, but I'll add it because it's very common to say, because I had already gone to Paris several times. Because I had already gone to Paris several times. You're too flattering, David. Kelvin, because I was not familiar with the place. That's a good answer, Kelvin. Perfectly fine answer. But you're using the past simple. That's okay. We would only use past perfect if we want to talk about something before that causes the second finished action. Valerie, good, because I don't want bold. Because I had, so in this case, you only need to say ran, no been, because I had ran out of money. Great, good. Oh gosh, this is not run, I'm sorry, the past participle, because I had run out of money. Because I had been in Paris the month before. Okay, you should say the month before. Pillar, that's good. Because I had been in Paris, the month before. And in this case, because you're being so specific, it's kind of optional to use the past perfect. It makes sense to also just say, because I was in Paris the month before. And that's because you're being so clear with the timing. Yeah. Okay. And because I had already visited Paris, of course. Good answer. Okay, let's go to the next question. New reasons. Why did your neighbor give you a big plant? Hello, Ahmed. Tatiana, because I hadn't had time for that? Yeah, good answer. So let's think of the next situation. Why did your neighbor give you a big plant? Awesome, Noir. Good. Because I had passed my exam. That's awesome. Maybe you and your neighbor have a good relationship if they are supporting you and congratulating you. That's awesome. Awesome. What else? What else could cause a neighbor to give you a big plant? So in this case, Vladimir, not necessary to use the past perfect because it's not before that. So it would be a past simple reason because he was going on vacation, right? Because he was going on vacation. That would just be the past simple. Because I have a big backyard. Good, Jens. That's a good reason in the present. Yeah. Because he had traveled for a long time, Gertie. I think your answer is good, but you should change the subject because I had, you could say instead of travel, I had been away for a long time, comma, and he was taking care of my plant for me. a major answer a bit longer. Because I had asked for that plant before. Tatiana, good. Sergi, because I had paid for it. Good. Pillar, because he had promised me. Yeah, we don't need to, because he had promised me a plant. Maria, because I had been at work all the time. Good. Yeah, good reasons, for sure. We can add one more, maybe because I had cleaned his garden for him. Something like that. Neighborly behavior. Okay, let's get some answers for this one. Why was your best friend mad at you last weekend? What did you do? Zuhair, because my family had a new baby. Oh, that's a good one because it's had. Because my family had a new baby. Yeah. Because had is our auxiliary verb and had is our main verb, past participle form. Okay? It's possible to say had. Mm-hmm. So why was your best friend mad at you? Batuhan, because I had blown them off. I don't know if that's I think you might be trying to use like a slang expression or something. But you can say maybe because I had told them off. I don't really know blown off. I might just not be familiar with that term, but maybe it makes sense. But told them off is just when you get really angry with someone and you might, yell at them a little bit and be rude to them, kind of thing. So Nayarana, good answer. Because I hadn't, good, negative, awesome, helped. Sorry, I missed it. Because I hadn't helped him during exams, good. Dunya, good, because I had lost his money. Oh, no. And let's see, lots of good examples. Tatiana, because I had forgotten about her birthday. Good. Valerie, because I hadn't brought the stuff she asked. Because I hadn't bought, I think, instead of brought, you mean bought the stuff she had asked me to buy. Yeah. Good. Pillar, because I had forgotten our appointment to go to the beauty salon. You should add the word salon, because I had forgotten about our appointment to. Instead of saying to go to the beauty salon, you can just say at the beauty salon. Noir, because I hadn't helped him maneuver his furniture out of his house. Yeah. Maneuver, good word, not so casual. Most people would probably say because I hadn't helped him move his furniture out of his house. Well, yes, Kelvin, if it's present perfect, you can say we have had. But if it were past perfect, it would be we had. We were tired yesterday because we'd had a long night with the baby. Okay, we had a long night with the baby, so we were tired yesterday. Okay, so we have a little bit of time and I want to show you the differences, okay, of using the past simple, past continuous, and past perfect, because it definitely changes the meaning of what you are saying, okay? And I'm seeing a lot of great examples. Good job, you guys. Yeah. Oh, blown him off. Oh, yes. Good. I definitely know that expression for sure. We'll add it in because I had blown him off. Yes. Sorry. That's a very common slang expression that I should have known, but I don't know why. It just slipped my mind. Thank you, Batihan. And bail is a good casual language as well, because I had bailed on him. That means when you cancel somebody's plans with not very much notice. Okay. Bailing on somebody means you had plans and you cancel, but blowing someone off kind of when you ignore them and you kind of avoid making plans in the first place. Yeah. Okay, let's see. Back to Smrt, and I want to answer a question here. So Nayarana, you can use had and a past participle for any finished action in the past that you want to say comes before another finished action in the past, okay? You need to make sure that you have at least 2 finished actions that you're talking about, or more, and that's the only time that you would need to use past perfect. If you have 2 or more finished actions anytime in the past, and you want to be very clear what happened first. Okay, so let me show you guys big difference between the 3 sentences in Smrt here. Number 1 sentence, okay? When I got home, my husband cooked dinner. Good. If you say this, then you need to be speaking in order. That means first you got home, second husband made dinner, okay? Sentence number 2. When I got home, my husband was cooking dinner. Okay, so this is a different meaning. That means that the cooking started in the past and it was unfinished, ongoing, and you got home and you interrupted that action, right? And then finally, hello, Hung. When I got home, my husband had cooked dinner. Okay, good husband. That means that first, cooking is over. Second, you return home. Okay? So as you can see, depending on what you want to, what kind of message you want to relay to your listener, you have to think about the sequence of events. Okay? If you're speaking in order, like number 1, if you're speaking in order, then that's fine, past simple. If you're speaking in order with finished actions, past simple. If you want to mix a finished action with an unfinished action, past continuous, right? And again, what we've talked about today, if you would like to talk about one finished action and then a finished action before that, that's when you should use past perfect. Okay? Yeah, Nawar, what a husband. Number 3, best husband. Number 2, second best husband. Number 1, third best husband. Just kidding. But anyways, we're coming up at 4 o'clock here. It's a good timing. It's great to use past perfect, Sergi, and I feel that it is a commonly used tense that is very good to learn and practice. If, past simple is fine as well, as long as you are learning and trying to add new forms to your, language bank up here. I think that's the most important thing. You should definitely try to use it. And it's okay to make mistakes, okay? People will correct you and you will learn from your mistakes. So, all right, well, it's 4 o'clock, everyone. So I'm going to finish here. So I will share this document and I will put it in the group chat. So feel free to go over the examples again at home or wherever you are. You can add more examples to it by making your own copy. But yes, next week I will be back on Tuesday at 3 o'clock, and we're going to practice with all of the past passives. Okay, so it should be a good time. Lots of good examples, and thank you guys. Thank you for your examples because you really give me a lot of great examples. So yes, that's right, Nairana. You can use had with causative. Yes. Oh, Yassir, you're in Morocco. I'm so jealous. I want to go to Morocco. It looks like a beautiful place. Okay, well, I could sit here and chat for a long time, but I'm going to say goodbye now. And yes, the topic for next week is past passive. Okay? So, thank you very much, everyone, and be safe. Have a great day. Enjoy your week. And yeah, I'll see you next Tuesday. You're very welcome. Have a great day, you guys. Bye-bye.